Luna, I'm out of money again. Could you lend me some more? What? Again? Don't you think you're spending too much? Seriously, enough is enough. And you're 25, get a job instead of borrowing money from people. After remarrying, my husband Jackson's son, David, is a troublemaker with a reckless spending habit and a difficult personality. Yet, at the mature age of 25, he lives in Jackson's apartment, not working and just frittering away his days. I have been living with this unbelievable son for 6 months now. Despite hearing that a child would be living with them, I never imagined it would be someone like him. Don't mess with me. Even if you are Jackson's son, you're only 10 years younger than me. Show some restraint, you freeloader. Hey, you're the freeloader. Moving into my dad's apartment and then saying that? Plus, my girlfriend is talking about moving in too, so if anyone's a parasite, it's you. You should be the one to leave, haha. The situation may be as it is, but normally, you should be the one leaving. Stop relying on others for money. Aren't you Jackson's child? Don't you want to be independent? Not at all. I want to live freely. If he wants to live freely, he should leave the house, but for some reason, he seems attached to Jackson and refuses to leave. And he treats me as an intruder. Yet, he has the audacity to beg for money from me and keeps asking when I will leave. His actions are full of contradictions. I wished it was him who would leave instead. Hey, Jackson, can't you do something about him? Our living situation will fall apart at this rate. We're paying $10,000 in rent. I know, he's been a lot of trouble for me too. I think we need to take this opportunity to do something about it. It's going to be a real hassle otherwise. What do you mean? His troublesome nature comes from his mother. Your ex-wife. I learned from Jackson that the reason for David's behavior was largely due to his biological mother. Honestly, there were too many shocking revelations, leaving me stunned. It seems Jackson had decided to cancel the apartment lease a while back, waiting for the right moment. That timing has finally come upon us. That timing had finally come, unbeknownst to David, who lived each day carefreely. Little did he know, a significant crisis that would plummet him to the depths of hell was about to unfold. My name is Luna. I lost my previous husband to a car accident at 31. He was taking our child to daycare when they were involved in a head-on collision. I never imagined losing both of them, and I was devastated, crying alone in my apartment. Thank you for today. I hope to see you again. Sure, let's talk more again sometime. My current husband was the person who happened to take care of me when I was too saddened and immobilized to move. It was in the middle of the station, a very public place, but he didn't mind and comforted me by rubbing my back, which made me very happy. Losing both my child and husband to a car accident, and now I have to go deal with the death formalities. I understand, I've been through something similar in the past. I really get how you feel. Thank you. I hardly have anyone to talk to about this. It's been tough. My mother passed away when I was young, and my father also died on the day I decided to get married. If asked if I had any relatives, the only person would be my grandfather living alone in a slightly distant area. I had no one around to share my hardships with. So, the kindness shown to me at that time was so comforting, leading me to start a relationship and eventually decide to get married. We're going to get married, but your son is still living with us, right? Yeah, that guy is a lazy bum who doesn't work, you know? When I took him from his mother, he appealed to my emotions, saying he was happy to be treated kindly by his dad, but actually, there was a time I reached my limit and kicked him out, but he came back with some excuse. Made up an excuse? There's a troublesome person behind David. Who's the troublesome one? His mother. Apparently, he's still in touch with her for some reason. Why would his ex-wife? They both have the same easygoing nature, relying on others for money. It seems like his ex-wife is using the kid as a cash cow, probably siphoning my money through the kid. What? What's that about? According to my husband, his ex-wife had the same character as David, living off his earnings without working, and seemed to have cheated on him by bringing lovers into the house when she was home. I heard she also had a habit of taking money from my husband's wallet, which led to financial disputes and eventually divorce. Such a horrible woman, I can't believe there are people like that. That's why I hate it. Just so you know, David isn't my kid. What do you mean? He's the child of her previous husband, she dumped him on me. What? That's insane. the ex-wife just pushed him off because she didn't want to deal with him. She boldly said, "A man who doesn't work, even if he's a child, is worthless, so I'm giving him to you." That's terrible. And David is living with you without any worries? Well, it seems like David never thought of her as his mother anyway. So, like mother, like son. And now they're tight on money, so she's using David to squeeze money out of you? My husband remained silent at that. What's wrong? It's suspicious, those two, especially David. Why? When I was going to marry Luna, he told me he hated women and even asked me to call off the wedding once. What? He hates women? That playboy who's out every day? Doesn't make any sense, right? Jackson's contradictory statements and actions were immediately clear to me. Even though there's a 10-year age gap between David and me, I'm still in my early 30s, and Jackson married me because he liked my appearance. Hey, sis! Are you gonna be my next dad's partner? Quite the catch, huh? Got money? Huh? At our first meeting, he said that and even touched my butt. Such a pervert. Honestly, I wondered which mouth was saying he hated women. If he really hated women, he would have outright rejected them, but the way he interacted with me like a playboy at first meeting made it sound like a lie. Rather, a womanizer. Definitely hiding something. I could feel it strongly. Please lend me some money again, Luna. As usual, David was begging me for money. Because I earn more than Jackson, he targets me for money. At first, I didn't give him any because Jackson told me about him, but then money started disappearing from my wallet. Enough already. Taking money from my wallet is a crime, you know. I'll call the police on you. It's because you won't give me money, Luna. If you'd just give it to me, I'd behave. It's your stubbornness that's causing this, right? Indeed, when David is straightforwardly given money, he takes it and leaves. He comes back at night, reeking of perfume and alcohol. I figured he was probably going to strip clubs or something. Lately, his demands for money have gotten worse, saying it's for his girlfriend and taking hundreds from me. He's mentioned having a girlfriend before, but her existence was so secretive I've never even seen a picture. Honestly, it was creepy. Having or not having a girlfriend, it felt absurd that I was the one funding it. Hey, does he really have a girlfriend? I'm sick of lending him money. Can you bear with it a bit longer? He might take the money, but I won't let him harm you. Jackson tried to reassure me, which was comforting. But David's misconduct escalated, leading to an unbelievable act. Hey, Jackson, my wallet's gone. Ah, mine too. You're kidding, he's finally done something like this. I thought it might happen. I've mentioned before that there was a time I kicked him out because he stole my wallet and left home. So that was it, then. He's done it again. Or rather, there's a high chance he was made to do it. What do you mean? Maybe talking to David will make it clear. That day, David came home drunk, in a good mood, and started bothering me while I was sleeping. Luna, let's sleep together. He cooed in a whiny voice, rubbing his face against my body. At that moment, I felt a chill down my spine. No, stop it, that's disgusting. What are you thinking? I'm your dad's partner. What the hell are you thinking? I definitely won't forgive you for something like this. What's the big deal, Dad, wanting to be with Luna and... At that moment, Jackson's slap flew across David's cheek. A loud smack echoed, and the room fell silent for a moment. Hey, you think you can do this to me? My good lady won't stay quiet about this. What? You mean Grace? What are you suddenly talking about? Who's Grace? That's the ex-wife's name. Why are you calling Grace my good lady? She's your mom, right? What? Well, sometimes I call my mom like that. Don't you think you're overthinking it? David's voice was noticeably shaky. His eyes darted around, clearly showing his confusion. Hey, you hiding something? Your spending has been reckless lately, hasn't it? I tried to press further into David's agitation, but he calmed himself with a deep breath and puffed out his chest. After exhaling with a ha, he started speaking in a calm voice. It was my girlfriend's birthday coming up, so I spent a bit too much at a fancy restaurant. Wearing Grace's perfume? What? Your current scent is very similar to the perfume Grace used to wear. Well, maybe my nose is messed up. Jackson suddenly changed the subject. Whether he sensed something or not, he didn't pursue the conversation further. Seeing his reaction, I decided not to push any further either. I felt it was best to leave the future to my husband. But you know, I'm getting older, right? I want to settle down with my girlfriend, so I want to live here together. So, could you please leave, Luna? You're just in the way. You're just leeching off Dad, after all. You really think that about Luna? What? Why are you suddenly? Enough already, even if you're her stepson, I can't let you think that way about her. Are you that mad over this? You've forgiven me about the money stuff before. You think I've forgiven you? What do you mean? Keep talking. Next time you come crying, I absolutely won't forgive you guys. Jackson hit David once more and kicked him out of the room. Anger was palpable in his departure. Luna, we're leaving this house tomorrow. What? Why all of a sudden? I've made up my mind. I'm completely cutting ties with those people. Saying that, he went to bed. Prompted by his actions, I too got into bed and whispered close to his ear. You said those people just now, what do you mean? Everything about David's scent and actions added up. There's definitely some unspeakable relationship between him and the ex-wife. I've been collecting bits of evidence that might prove useful, and it looks like it might come in handy now. Can you take me to your grandpa's house tomorrow? Why? Your grandpa was a detective, right? Yes, but if he was a detective around here, he probably has connections with people I know. What do you mean? Let's just go to sleep. Tomorrow is the time for payback. Jackson said this and quietly closed his eyes to sleep. Somehow, the word payback uttered by my husband brought a sense of relief to me. Feeling confident that I could leave it in his hands, I too fell asleep peacefully. The next morning, David had already left the house and gone somewhere. I'm disgusted with him. I took pity on him at first because he said he admired me, but I can't accept what happened. What are we going to do? It's good I've been gradually reducing our belongings. What do you mean? I had a hunch. So, I made sure we could vacate this apartment any day by keeping our belongings minimal. Jackson said this as he started packing the room. He stuffed clothes into a large suitcase and began packing other items into cardboard boxes he had apparently prepared in advance. I get that we're leaving this apartment today, but where are we going? Even you, Jackson, with both parents and grandparents gone, who do we have? What are you talking about? We have somewhere. Luna's family home, like I mentioned yesterday. So suddenly? Jackson said this and stopped packing to look into my face. Then, with a face filled with a deep sense of apology and desperation, he knelt before me as if pleading from the bottom of his heart. I really am sorry. It's incredibly rude to just show up at your uncle's house where he lives alone. But I really need to rely on your grandpa's kindness just this once. Grandpa's words? Remember when we decided to get married and visited your family home to greet your grandpa? He told me something back then. Jackson began to explain calmly. His grandpa was also a former police officer, actually my grandpa's former superior. He had received a lot of help from him during his active years and was indebted to him. So, when we announced our marriage, he said, if I can repay that man, and told us, if there's anything, don't hesitate to ask for help. But how did you know that? It's my surname. It's a rare surname around here, so it clued him in right away. At that moment, I truly believed in coincidences. Jackson's situation was similar to mine, with both parents having been older when they had him, and now he was left alone, his grandparents also long passed away. He had wanted to show love to David, even though he was a spendthrift child. I could deeply relate to that feeling. Having lost my beloved husband and child, I too had wanted to reform David, despite his difficult personality. So, we're taking these things to my family home. Nodding, Jackson pulled out his phone from his pocket and began to call a real estate agent. Thank you for everything. About that matter, I appreciate your assistance. The call was brief, and soon after, Jackson was heading towards the door with the car keys. Wait! Is everything settled already? I've been preparing just in case, suspecting something might happen. I've been in talks with the real estate agent for a while, so it was just about timing. After finishing the call to the real estate agent and packing up, we headed to my family home. Without even a moment to unload, Jackson ran towards my grandpa to shake hands and began explaining the situation to him. I'm sorry for suddenly showing up like this. We're in a bit of a bind. Don't worry about it. If it's for paying back Joseph, I don't mind at all. I have another favor to ask. I want to get in touch with this man," Jackson said, pulling a photo from his chest pocket and showing it to Grandpa. "This man, is he involved with the mafia?" Grandpa's words made my skin crawl, and I peered at the photo. "Who is this?" "The ex-wife's former husband. I've always suspected something off about David's actions. I even told Luna before. Once, I hired a detective with the little money I had to investigate. This is what we found." "No way! So David is the child of a mafia member?" "That's not exactly it. The investigation unearthed a whole lot of evidence," Jackson said, handing me some documents. "These were discovered by the detective while investigating the ex-husband. It's about David's background." The documents revealed a shocking fact. David was not the child of Jackson's ex-wife. "You're kidding! David is the ex-wife's lover? Insane, right? They've been lying to me, calling him their son. But why? Don't you normally fill out paperwork with family court when you take custody of a child?" "That's what she told me at the time. I've taken care of all the paperwork, so don't worry about it. I guess I was too exhausted from the financial disputes and the divorce to think clearly. I just took her word for it. Can that even happen? It sounds like something out of a movie." I was left speechless by my husband's words. I had a stunned expression as if I were a deer in the headlights. "It sounds like something out of a movie," I wanted to echo Jackson's words. "So, what? You want to contact this man to get information on the ex-wife and her lover you're dealing with now?" Grandpa, being a former detective, quickly grasped the situation. Then, he started talking on the phone, jotting down notes. "Go to this address and show them this photo. You'll find out everything you need to know about him." He handed me a piece of paper with an address. Suddenly, my phone rang, and it was David. "Hey, Luna? I went back to the apartment and all my stuff is there, but nothing else. What's going on?" "Oh, yeah. Maybe you should ask Jackson?" I tried, but his phone seems to be off. I can't reach him. Hearing my conversation, Jackson grabbed the phone and started talking. His face turned red, and he had an expression I had never seen before. "Listen, I've treated you like a son until now, but that ends today. I don't know if Grace put you up to this, but be prepared." "What? What are you talking about all of a sudden? You think you can say that and it's okay? Whatever happens is on you. Try me." After shouting that, Jackson hung up the phone, grabbed my hand, and ran with me to the car. Once we got into the car, Jackson, with a change in his complexion, drove us rapidly to the intended address. Driving to the given address, it was clear Jackson was furious. His patience had reached its limit. Beyond his anger, there were tears in his eyes. Tears of anger. Seeing that, I too felt a surge of anger remembering all the money David had taken from us over the past 6 months. "It's finally over, isn't it? David's hold over us. Yeah, not just David, but Grace too. They're both going to hell." The car roared as it sped down the road. It felt like the car's roar was mirroring our anger. Upon arriving at the destination, Jackson's phone rang just in time. It was a private number, but Jackson answered without hesitation. "Long time no see, Grace. I don't know what you're planning, but turns out David, your lover. Lying about him being your child, you're going to pay for everything you two have done. What are you on about all of a sudden? David and our sins. Don't be ridiculous, you're the ones who will suffer. Think so? Why don't you come down to the Miller Group's office then?" "What? What do you mean? How do you know about the Miller Group?" "It's the ex-husband's office, right? I know everything about you guys. Don't mess with me." "Fine then, bring it on. I'll come, so be prepared." After hanging up, Jackson pushed me towards the doorbell. Giving his surname, the voice over the intercom said, "We've been expecting you. Please, come in," and the door was opened by someone who seemed to be in charge, leading us inside. "I apologize for the trouble our young ones have caused you. Never thought Mr. Isaac's granddaughter would come." I never imagined that the issue with my husband's stepchild would escalate to this extent, let alone lead us to a mafia office. Trembling with fear, I tightly grasped Jackson's hand. But Jackson seemed just as nervous, with his hand trembling slightly in mine. "It's understandable. Visiting a mafia office is certainly a rare occurrence in anyone's life, usually something you'd never expect to do. Despite the overwhelming pressure and fear, there was a look of determined victory in Jackson's eyes. We actually came to meet the person in this photo. Ah, we've already called him in. The boss said, and then the man from the photo entered the room. I'm sorry, it seems Grace has been causing you trouble using my name. The ex-husband apologized while crying, bowing deeply, repeatedly saying sorry. He bowed deeply, with such force that his head nearly rubbed against the floor, apologizing over and over again. It's not your fault, right? It was all planned by those two? That's right, Grace mentioned it during our separation. The next person she marries, they'd target together to squeeze every penny. So, they married me with the aim at my wealth from the start. They planned to drain everything even after divorce, involving Luna too. I'll never forgive them. The revelations were shocking. They had married Jackson aiming for his wealth, planning to use David cleverly to extract money even after divorce. Hold on, this is too much information all at once. They'd do anything for money. Even without me, they connected with another group, planning meticulously. I heard they were even willing to kill us to get the wealth. We were astounded to learn the extent of their plans. We could have been killed. But Jackson was triumphant, knowing we could definitely bring them down. It was at that moment. The entrance of the office became noisy, and David and the ex-wife walked in. Never thought you'd be inside the office. Too bad for you, but you know what happens if you mess with us? You came here knowing we're connected with the Miller Group? There's no persuading us. You talk big about being connected with the group, but do you really believe that? Of course, I'm closely linked with Mr. Garcia. He's been good to me, so with just one word from me. Don't be mistaken. There's no room for compassion for the likes of you. And we've documented everything you've done, so a call to the police will have you arrested immediately. We've also hired a lawyer for the trial. We've heard everything you planned from the ex-husband, and we've recorded it as evidence. There's no escaping now. At that moment, David and Grace's faces clouded over, a clear sign they knew they were in trouble. Wait, what about Mr. Garcia's words? He said he'd protect us. Too bad. We've already asked Mr. Garcia to step down. No, that's a lie. I'm not involved, right? I was just Grace's lover, and... Don't think you can escape. You're heading to jail too, Grace's lover. They were completely cornered with no way out. The fact that the Miller Group, which they had been relying on, didn't help them, that all the evidence was still intact, the police had been contacted, and they had nowhere to escape to left them utterly helpless. They collapsed on the spot, crying and begging in a last-ditch attempt to invoke sympathy. Please, we never really intended to do this. It was all Grace's doing. I too wanted to be with David, but we had no money. That's not how the world works, do you understand? Everything you've done is a crime. You need to pay for your sins. I'm really sorry. I truly want to reform and be Jackson's son, please forgive me. Even as they appealed to Jackson emotionally, his gaze remained cold. You said you admired me, which is why I initially showed compassion. But that was all an act and a lie, wasn't it? It's too late for such words now. Don't expect any sympathy from me, give up. With that, Jackson nodded to the bosses, and we left the place. Later, we were informed by the police that the two were arrested, and the trial began at that moment. We won. They were ordered to pay back all the money they had scammed plus damages, and they were left dejected in jail. The house they had been living in was razed to the ground by the Miller Group, making sure they had no place to return to after getting out. As for us, we moved into my family home, taking care of Grandpa while living happily. However, around the time the turmoil ended, Grandpa's health suddenly declined, leading to his hospitalization. Grandpa, are you okay? I'm sorry for causing you worry. Please get well. Well, I might not have much longer. I have this feeling. Don't say sad things like that. We were about to start a lively life with Jackson moving in. It's enough if you two are happy. Seeing your smiles is all I need. Don't worry about me, support Jackson. Grandpa, I'm glad I met Jackson. I had been haunted by a debt of gratitude I couldn't repay in the past. I never imagined Joseph's grandson would become Luna's husband. It made me happy. I thought I could finally repay my debt. That's why I was able to help you too. Thank you for saying that. We're grateful you welcomed us into your home so suddenly. Let us take care of you till the end. Those were the words exchanged in the hospital. A few days later, Grandpa passed away from old age, having fulfilled his life's journey and departing peacefully for heaven. His face at that time seemed very happy, as if blessing our future life. All the money, house, land, and assets I've accumulated will be transferred to you too. Live happily. Grandpa had said that before he passed. We decided to stay in the family home, and I chose to become a full-time homemaker. Married life with an age difference. I thought our modest life together would just quietly continue, but 2 years after moving into the family home, I found out I was pregnant. No way, I thought I could never have children. Thank you. I thought I wouldn't have any more children either, but this is such a joy. The first 6 months after we remarried truly felt like a whirlwind of days. It was mentally tough for both of us, but it goes without saying that these events deepened our bond, and we became happy afterward, thanks to such movie-like incidents. It was an experience that made us acutely aware of the cost of trying to find happiness by using others and how easily extraordinary events can hide behind the veneer of everyday life. Our house is gone, you're kidding. Why did this happen? The two who tried to trap us are literally seeing hell right now. Hearing from the Miller Group, I felt they would suffer until death in a world completely opposite to ours. We must never get involved with antisocial forces. We are now receiving the happiness that compensates for the suffering and loss we endured. Thank you for speaking to me back then. Let's truly be happy. It might have been fate. Now, in the family home, Luna, Jackson, and our newly born child live a happy life together.